What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today I've got a story time for y'all that I know you guys are going to love about the time my rich cousin ended up pitching me the worst business idea of all time. I've been holding this story for a while, but I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. Your kid's gonna end up like my cousin, and you definitely don't want that, and let's go.
Nice rack and her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million. Swear I'm.
Alright, all you gotta know about my cousin before we get into this video is that he's a little bit of a spoiled, stupid weenie. I say that politely. We're near the same age. He's actually a year or two older than me, and his dad's done very well for himself, you know. I'm not gonna knock that, but he himself is very, very obnoxious because of his dad's hard work. And his family has this cool boat, and they used to do this thing called Family Boat Day, where they would let the entire extended family come out and, like, hang out on the boat for a day. And, you know, it was pretty cool, and I went for, like, a lot of years in a row. I don't go anymore. This is actually the reason I don't go anymore. But, you know, for a while it was just a cool tradition, but that was basically the only time of year I would see them. They wouldn't even come on holidays. They were never in town, so, like, I literally saw them maybe once a year. We were not close family by any means. But the worst part about being on a boat with someone that you don't necessarily like is that there's really nowhere to go. In terms of being trapped with nowhere to run, that's literally the worst place you can be, right? Like, if you're sitting there trying to mind your own business on a boat and somebody starts to annoy you, where are you gonna go? Overboard? Like, there's not many options for me to escape. So I'm minding my business sitting on one end of the boat. I was talking to my little brother, just kind of minding my business, and my cousin walks over to me and he taps me on the shoulder, and I look at him and I go, "Hey man, what's up? Long time no see." He hadn't been there the year before, so it had been like 2 years since I've seen him, and he says, "Hey man, I have a business proposal for you. Do you mind if I tell it to you?" And instantly alarm bells start ringing in my head because, like, this dude's dad has a lot of money. So if he needs to talk to me about his business proposal, then that means his dad said no. So it's probably really stupid. And on top of that, I just don't like the idea of getting anyone in my family money. You know, no offense, they're just nuts. Like, they're mostly crazy. I would rather die than lend them money. And as a general rule, I've always been told that family and money don't mix. So I kind of tell him, like, no, I'm good, bro. I don't really want to hear about it. No offense, I just don't really want to mix family and money. I've heard it's a bad idea. So to keep our relationship good and make sure we get along, I just think it's a good idea that we don't mix business and family. And I thought I was being really mature. I thought that was a good excuse. But he starts telling me, like, no, dude, you don't understand. Like, this is going to make billions. This is going to make billions, you know. And he's insistent. And I kind of, like, get up to try to move and escape him. But he follows me, just telling me the entire time that, like, I'm definitely going to want to hear this, you know. Trust me, just hear him out, just hear him out. And the entire time, I'm like, I really don't want to have this conversation. You know, he's telling me this is going to make me billions of dollars. And it doesn't take a genius here to very obviously see through this and know that it's not going to make me $1 billion. But once again, the biggest mistake of this, I'm on a boat. There's nowhere to go. So I know that this is going to be stupid. I know there's no way it's going to make me billions of dollars, but my only option is to jump into the lake. I don't feel like swimming to shore, so I guess I decide that, like, I'm just going to hear it out. So finally, I sit down on this bench on the side of the boat, and he sits next to me on the other end of the boat because I had tried to, like, literally escape him, and he puts his arm around me. And I instantly don't like his arm around me because, A, I don't really know this dude. Like, he's my cousin, but like I said, I see him maybe once a year. But on top of that, when he puts his arm around me, his shoulder stinks. Like, his armpit stinks, and he was shirtless, so when he put his arm around me, his shoulder, like, his armpit was, like, on my shoulder, and it just was like, oh man, I felt his sweat on me. It was just not a very good vibe. Nobody wants that off rip, right? And on top of that, you know, I just don't like people being that close to me in general. Like, if I don't know you, put your arm around me, and it's not like this guy is family. It's like, you know, the family you see very rarely when they feel like coming around. And that's fine, everybody's got family like that, but we're not really close enough for you to start hugging me and telling me your business idea. But he gets really, really close to me, and I'm uncomfortable, but I don't know what to do. Like I said, on a boat, nowhere to go. And he, like, starts to whisper, and he goes, "All right, dude, before we start talking about this, you gotta promise me that you're not gonna tell anyone. You know, your family, so I'm not gonna make you sign any, like, documents, but you have to promise me that you'll keep this between us." And I'm like, "All right, sure, man, I won't tell anyone about your crazy idea." This idea never happened, by the way, so that's why I'm talking about it now. It's been years. I did keep my promise. This is no longer an idea now. Regardless, he goes, "Are you ready to change your life?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right. Change my entire life, dude." And he's like, "All right, before I start telling you, I need you to close your eyes." And I'm like, "Okay, man. You know, I'm listening to your pitch. I don't really want to do it. I don't want to mix family and money. Like, I'm not. Can you just like tell me what your idea is?" And he's like, "No, close your eyes." And he's being crazy insistent. And once again, dude, like after 2 minutes of going back and forth of him just insisting I close my eyes or he's not gonna tell me, and then me being like, "Okay, then you're not gonna tell me," and then him being like, "No, close your eyes," I finally just decide to do it. And obviously, that wasn't the best idea. I probably should have told him no at that point. If you need me to close my eyes this bad, like, I'm not gonna do it. But for whatever reason, he's so insistent that I'm like, fine. So I close my eyes, and he starts narrating this to me, dude. It's like a book on tape. All right, imagine you're in a restaurant. You take a bite of the food. It's the best food of your life. My goodness, it's delicious. And as you're taking a bite of your food and you're realizing how good it is, you look at the sides, and not only is it plated beautifully, but the sides are delicious too. And overall, the culinary experience at this restaurant is great. And he's really selling it up to me, dude. He should be on Food Network, but like the audio version. If Food Network has a podcast, he would have been great for it. And he's like, and as you're sitting there with your food, the floor starts to shake. And I think in his mind that was cool, but I'm going to be honest, if I was at a restaurant and the floor started shaking, I would instantly be like, earthquake. That's not relaxing to me. I don't want to get caught in an earthquake. That's not on my bucket list. So whatever, he's like, the floor starts to shake, and it gets stronger and stronger, and coming out is a train, and you hear a train whistle, and amongst all of this, the culinary experience is heightened. Open your eyes. And I open my eyes, and I don't know where he got it from, but he is now in a conductor hat, like the train conductor hat. And he goes, "You're at Jimmy Railroad's restaurant." And honestly, like, he throws his hands out, he does this big presentation, and I'm just kind of looking at him for a few seconds because I'm trying to understand if it's a joke or not. Like, you just explained to me that I'm at a restaurant, the entire room starts shaking, there's a loud train whistle, and then I'm at a train-themed restaurant. So I start to laugh. I'm like, oh, this is a joke. So I start laughing. The only problem is, I don't know if y'all have ever had an awkward experience like this where you start laughing because you think it's a funny joke, but they don't laugh because it's not a funny joke to them. That's what happens, right? And he's like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. That was just a very over-the-top presentation. It's like a train-themed restaurant." And he's like, "Yeah, hear me out, okay? Just listen to the rest of it." And I'm like, "All right, dude." But instantly, already, I wasn't going to give him money in the first place. A, I don't have, like, spending money laying around to invest in restaurants. I'm not insanely rich, dude. I'm not Warren Buffett. But on top of that, I don't want to own a train-themed restaurant. But he starts to explain to me that in the 90s, you know, themed restaurants were huge, but for some reason, people stopped making them. Think about the Rainforest Cafe, Planet Hollywood. All these restaurants were so great because of the experience that came with the food, and, you know, people are nostalgic, so we should bring it back. And I don't think he realized the reason people stopped doing themed restaurants like Rainforest Cafe and Planet Hollywood is it's very financially difficult. Like, most of those chains since then have closed most of their locations and gone bankrupt. Disney tried to do restaurants where their characters would perform, and it didn't work. Like, if all of these things are happening and it's not working and no one does it anymore, there's probably a reason. If there's a bunch of money to be made in it, then, like, people would still be doing it. I don't feel like people abandoned industries where there's a lot of money to be made. And he starts to say that he wants to capitalize on that 90s nostalgia, and he's gonna do it by opening a train-themed restaurant, which, you know, in and of itself is not a very good theme for a restaurant. Like, when I think of trains, when I was a little kid, I liked them, but I think of like a steam engine and a coal room and, you know, very heavy machinery. It doesn't necessarily invoke like food in my mind. So I look at him and I'm like, all right, why trains? And he starts to explain to me that everyone loves trains. Little kids love trains, women love trains, men love trains, everybody loves trains. In fact, trains is listed as like one of the most popular passions for everyone. And I just don't believe that, dude. I don't know if that's a real fact, but I do not know anyone that has a passion for trains. Maybe if the book he was reading was from a very long time ago, that would be true, but I've never met anyone other than like old men and little kids that love trains. And so I think in his mind, he thought it was the 1920s, the steam engine is the new invention to get people around the world. Like maybe back then that was true. I know when Walt Disney built Disneyland, he wanted that like railroad station because he loved trains. That time period, maybe people were obsessed with it. That being said, I don't necessarily know that in 2021, a train-themed restaurant would do incredibly well. Because on top of just being a stupid idea, restaurants in general tend to not do very well. So I cut him off and I'm like, hey man, listen, I think it's a very creative idea. I don't know anything about restaurants. I don't want to put my money in restaurants because I don't know anything about it. And on top of that, I just don't really feel like a train-themed restaurant is a good idea. So I don't want to be involved, right? And he looks at me and he's like, okay, well, you don't want to be involved in running the restaurant or you think it's a good idea, but what if I told you that you could just finance it? You don't even need to be involved in running it. You just have to give me the money. And listen, I already am not going to give him money. I'm not. But I cannot pretend that I'm not curious to know how much he thinks this is going to cost, right? Like in his mind, he's talking about building a rainforest cafe, Planet Hollywood, based around trains. And in his mind, he needs money for it. And I want to know what it costs. Plus, on top of it, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and be these YouTubers. YouTuber doesn't pay me anything. I do not have opening new themed restaurant money. That is definitely not the case. I wish I did. Trust me, I wish I was Logan Paul where I could just open a train-themed restaurant and not think twice about it. It ain't like that. But sure enough, I definitely want to know what this costs because, in what world is he thinking and getting prices for train-based restaurants? How do you even research that? Do you look up how much a train costs and how much a restaurant is and, combine it somewhere in the middle? And he looks at me and he starts thinking and he goes, all right, you're probably not going to like this, but if I had to guess how much the entire restaurant and experience would cost to get up and operational, on the low end, I would say $15 million. And my eyes must have bulged out of my head. I know in my mind I went, huh? What? $15 million? But I know my eyes bulged out of my head because he went, now listen, I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it doesn't sound like a lot of money. That's an insanely large amount of money. Like I said, dude, YouTube pays me well, but if I had $15 million sitting in my bank account, I wouldn't be worried about posting on YouTube anymore. You know what I mean? If I really had that money laying around to just give to my cousin to open a restaurant, I would not be on the boat in the middle of this lake right now. You know what I'm saying? I'd be on my yacht next to it. So I kind of am like, yeah, definitely not. That's not gonna happen. So I cut him off again. I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. And he's like, well, you have to spend money to make money. And that's true. Chances are you're never going to open a business with $0 invested and make a lot of money. That being said, dude, $15 million for a train-themed restaurant seems like a horrible idea considering, 80% of restaurants fail within the first year period. I'm sure that number's a lot higher when you took out a $15 million loan from people to buy trains to put in your restaurant. And he starts to get mad at me saying no. He's like, dude, are you serious? It's gonna be huge. Trust me, when I'm the next Disney with my train brand, you're gonna regret it. Which, once again, I just don't necessarily think Walt Disney and the dude who owns Rainforest Cafe have much in common. And I especially don't know how you get from train-themed restaurant to theme park. That seems like an incredibly large jump. So whatever, he's getting mad at me. You're going to regret this, dude. This is going to be huge. This is going to be the biggest restaurant chain on the planet, and you're going to look dumb for not wanting to be a part of it. People love trains, and you're going to regret it. And guess what? I haven't even told you about anything else. This is just phase 1 of my plan. Phase 1 is restaurants. Like I said, I'm going to build an empire, so, if it helps, I'll explain the rest of my plan to you. And, I don't care if it's phase 1 or phase 50. If it's a stupid plan, you can have 90 phases of it. I don't think you should spend $15 million on a train-themed restaurant. I just don't necessarily think that's a good idea. But he's very insistent, and I can't lie and say I'm not curious to hear what phase 2 is. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not very fascinated. So I tell him, listen, I very unlikely am going to give you any money. I'm letting you know, that's basically slim to none. You're running on 0.001% chance. And I really don't want to hear more, but if you want to explain to phase 2, then go for it. I'm not interested, though. And you'd think at that point he wouldn't want to tell me. If somebody really doesn't want to hear what you say, you think you'd drop it. But, I'm on a boat with nowhere to go, so he launches into it. Alright guys, I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. If you take a look at my screen now, you'll see a gift card code. For those of you that don't know, I give one of these away in every video to say thank you to y'all for subscribing and turning on notifications. It really helps out the channel and I appreciate it. If you've already done it, you're a G, but if you haven't, you should. And yeah, while I got you, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, your mom's a hoe. I'll shut up and get back to the video now. Thanks. So I'm on a boat with no escape and he goes, alright, so you thought phase 1 was impressive. Well, are you ready for this? After I've opened 10 restaurants to keep the cash flow coming, keep in mind, with his own plan, that's $150 million worth of train-themed restaurants. A chain of train restaurants. Now that is a mouthful. Regardless, he goes, once I've got 10 restaurants bringing in the money, I'm going to take all of that and put it into my next venture, which is, because we're from Vegas, I want to build a casino based on trains. And once again, dude, I let out a little giggle. And he was not happy with the giggle, but I don't know what he expected, bro. Like, you're gonna build a casino to go along with your restaurant empire? You know, usually you would start with, like, I'm gonna build slot machines and slowly work into casinos. Or I'm gonna own hotels and work into casinos. Very rarely do I see people make the jump from chain-themed restaurants to casinos, but whatever. Apparently this train-themed restaurant that was going to cost $15 million per location was going to make him so much money that building multi-billion-dollar casinos was going to be easy, dude. Like, that's how much it costs to build a casino on the Strip. Multiple billions of dollars, man. Like, I'm from Vegas. He is too. We know how expensive these buildings are. There's no way that any restaurant would make that much money unless it's like a McDonald's, dude. Like, there's no way 15 restaurants are paying for a multi-billion-dollar casino. So I tell him again, like, dude, there's no way. Like, now you're telling me that on top of this train-themed restaurant, you're eventually going to segue into train-themed casinos? There's just no way. There's no way. And he's getting irritated. He's like, phase 2 doesn't make you excited? And I'm like, yo, man, I'm sorry. Phase 2 does not make me excited. And I'm giggling right now while I'm saying it. I kind of did the same thing where I was like, phase 2 doesn't make me excited. And I was being sarcastic. And at that point, he's like, you know, family's supposed to help family. So if you don't help me, then like, that just goes to show what you think of family. And I'm very disappointed that you would be out here and not help me. And like, listen, dude, obviously, whatever, people have bad family, it happens. I don't know how I'm bad family for not giving you money that I don't have. I don't have the money to pay for your train restaurant. And on top of that, it's a horrible idea. Like, you know, I'm supposed to just give you money for all your really stupid ideas because I've seen you once a year, maybe, if you decided to come. Like, what are you talking about? On top of that, hypothetically, let's pretend here that I had this imaginary $15 million and gave it to you, dude. When your train restaurant inevitably goes bankrupt and it's not going to work because it's a train-themed restaurant, how are you going to give me my money back? Like, wouldn't it be awkward to owe your cousin that much money? Like, I would feel bad owing anyone money. I personally, like, if I owe someone money, I feel guilty, dude. I have to pay him back right away. But on top of that, I would especially not want to owe a crap ton of money to anyone, but especially not a family member, dude. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, you don't have to give me the whole 15 million. You know, I'd take even a couple hundred. Like, okay, you're so desperate that you're going to start grifting your family members for like $200. Like, what are you talking about, man? $15 million is like a starting NBA player salary. There's no way if I gave you $100 that it would make any difference to you building this restaurant that's never going to be built because it's a stupid idea. So, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you money. There's nothing you can say or do that's going to change that. And so he huffs off and like goes to his dad who's driving the boat. And I see him kind of looking and they look over at me and he kind of like goes like this and calls me over. So I go over there and, you know, it's my uncle technically, but like he's not my blood family. He married into it. You know what I mean? And he's like, you aren't going to give my son any money for his restaurant? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give your son money for his train-themed restaurant. And I said it like that. And he's like, why not? Do you not think it's a good idea? And I'm like, no, I don't. I think it's going to lose money. I think if he built it, it would make him go bankrupt. I think it's a horrible idea. And I'm just being honest at this point. I've tried to be nice. I'm on a boat. There's nowhere for me to escape to. But like, what do you want me to lie and pretend that this is some fantastic idea? And so he's like, well, if you're not going to support my family, then I don't want you on my boat. I'm going to kick you off this boat. And like, was that supposed to magically make me want to give you the money that I don't have, dude? Like, I don't have it. And even if I had it, like, what? You really think that if I had $15 million, I would go, I'd rather be on this boat for another 2 hours than keep my money? Like, okay. So I kind of laugh and I'm like, are you really going to kick me off the boat? And he's like, yeah. So whatever. I'm like, fine. I go and sit down, and sure enough, they turn around the boat, and my entire family's there. It's not like just me and them, it's the entire extended family, and they're like, we're gonna go drop him off because, you know, he doesn't want to help out his family, and da-da-da-da-da. They're like berating me, saying that I'm the worst for not wanting to pay for their stupid train dream. And once again, why don't you pay for it? If your kid's dream is so smart and you really think it's a $1 billion casino idea, why don't you pay for it? I don't think you have $15 million either, because that's a stupid amount of money. But like, if you're so cool and you have this cool boat, sell the boat, use that to pay for the train-themed restaurant, bro. Don't come ask me for it. Like, what? And the entire time they're just berating me, saying that, you know, that's not what family does to family. And like, listen, I just feel like at a certain point, you know, family is people that I've seen and been around a bunch that help raise me. If I've only seen you a handful of times in my life, like, I have no obligation to help you with anything. And even then, hypothetically, bro, like, I'm gonna make up this scenario. If my dad came to me and asked me the same question, I'm a lot closer to him. I'd still go, haha, I don't have $15 million and this is a stupid, horrible idea. No, I'm not getting involved. But anyways, on the way back, like, some of my family started to, you know, be like, oh, why are you mad at him because of that? It's not a good idea. And he started to get embarrassed. So finally his dad's like, you know what, son, I'll give you some money for it. And like, we'll show them that they're wrong for ever doubting you in the first place. So for their sake, okay, they did end up taking me back and kicking me off the boat, by the way. They kicked me off the boat in the middle of the day. So for their sake, I hope they did end up trying to open a train-themed restaurant. I haven't really been that, like, involved or talked to them much since. But I really do hope that they sink their life savings into this idea, just because it's so stupid. And I think it would be really funny to see them be like, why isn't this working? We were supposed to be billionaires, while sitting in their train, like, with their conductor hats on, all sad. It would be kind of funny. Regardless, guys, that's going to do it for the video, though. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate you taking a second to press the like button and let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the video. If you thought it was funny, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you're new and turn on noties. If you really want to help me out, you can check out the intro song. I'll put a link to it in the description, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffedcast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout to get a discount on G Fuel and help me out at the same time. Last but not least, you can check out a link to my Storytime Spotify. I ended up putting some story times on there. Link will be in the top of the description. Go check it out. But yeah, on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I will see each and every single one of you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.